The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and not of DoD or any of its components.
Take me to the countryside. Gotta get out of these city lights. Drinking my cup, got me feeling right.
Yeah. No, man, I like the masks. If you look at, so I have no background at this point because I just got back home. So this is the first one from from number 5 K Street and on board CFA here in Yokosuka. So
when you were up north, did the family get to stay there?
They did. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
We intentionally did that because when I got ready to go to Misawa, Millie was going to be a junior. And so, and nothing against Edgren, which is the high school up there, but it might as well be like a 1A school. Like it's combined with the middle school. I mean, kind of like Aviano, as far as size, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And just not a lot of good reports about the school. And not only that, it allowed her to like finish high school.
That's a hard time to move too, especially when you got all your friends and everything set in. That's hard to move your junior year and then try to start something new your senior year, right?
Exactly. So, I think we looked at it as we were fortunate to be able to have that opportunity. And it's not like I was far. I mean, I was, as the crow flies, probably about 400 miles. So it's really not that bad,
Well, you look great, man. You don't look like you've aged a bit. So
I made sure that the camera perspective is above the waistline.
Well, when you're cooking for yourself, you always take the easy way. It seems, so.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. So, hey, man, I'm gonna do a quick intro here, Mike.
Okay.
Just so this is all. I don't really do much in the way of like editing. It's pretty much we hit record and then we go, right? So, but I would like to just kind of say thank you for coming on, Mike. I mean, I know you're a busy man, coaching high school football, working on your golf game, living that retired life, man. But honestly, I appreciate you coming on because. It's like I asked you, like, there anything we want to avoid? And you said, hey, man, open book over here. And it takes a lot of courage for anybody, I think, to say, hey, yeah, man, just ask me whatever you want to ask. So, for the listeners, you'll read the little bio and the tagline of the video or the podcast. But so Mike and I are good friends in Hawaii, consider him a mentor, somebody I look up to. Whenever I started this thing, I knew the time would be right to get Mike on. And so, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, Mike.
Oh, that's thanks for those kind words. Listen, I think anybody that was in the mess in Hawaii knew that you were going to be successful. And when you got picked up for the CMC program, that's a big plus for the program. I think you've always been a positive guy, a positive influence, and we got to know each other. We played golf almost every weekend, and it was a fun 2-3 years that we were there together. I enjoyed it. We had a good group. We had some good friends, and we always find something to laugh about. And enjoy each other. And we also bounced a lot of things off each other, when we had issues in our command, anything that was going on. It was nice to, a lot of things get done away from work. So when we were on the golf course, we bring those things up and, we talk about things that maybe we could help each other with. So that's good. So you helped me as much as I helped you. If you want to call me a mentor, that's fine.
Yeah, look, Mike, you always had a very level-headed approach, and I remember we did talk about a lot of stuff, and I remember one of the things you used to say that I kind of use it now. When some young chief be ranting about something and how unfair and how terrible life is, and I remember when you used to say, hey, when you got 10 years in the mess, come talk to me then.
I don't talk like that anymore. In fact, Aiden, I was just Aiden started laughing. Aiden says, "You're not really either mad when you're yelling on the football field, are you?" Because I don't yell at home, right? I said, and I said, "Nah, I got to work my way up to it." So some of that was for show, right? I
Yeah.
think my last 10 years, I was just basically, you gotta put on a show sometimes for your sailors, and same thing with your football team. You got to put on a show sometimes for them, right?
Yeah.
Let them know you're serious.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Mike, so let's do something here, man. So talked a little bit about our Hawaii times, but so tell us what you're up to now, right? Like where you're at, how you
Okay,
got there, you know.
My wife is a DoDEA teacher, so she had orders here to Aviano, Italy. It's about 45 minutes north of Venice. Really nice little community nestled in the mountains. We actually purchased a house here, so it's kind of nice. I started subbing, and they needed a football coach last year, so I stepped up and was the head coach last year. This year, I'm more like the offense coordinator. The old head coach is back. It was just a little bit of COVID burnout, but he's back. He's been He's been coaching for 28 years. He's a great guy, and we have another coach that was the original coach here. He's 83 years old. So when the school opened, he was the head coach, and he's still here, living in the community, and he comes out and coaches with us, and it's just fun to coach with these guys. I learned so much, right? I feel like I got some good mentors surrounding me. We have a good group of coaches. I sub every now and then. Now I don't sub that often. Maybe when they need when a teacher has a doctor's appointment, they need somebody to come in for an hour, they'll call me, and I'll come in and sub. But other than that, I play a lot of golf, like 3 times a week. Actually, I would be playing right now, but the club championship is going on. I didn't get in that, so I took my Sunday off to hang out with you. So.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, Mike. So you talk about coaching there in Aviano, but just from a lot of our conversations on the golf course in Hawaii and everything, I kind of know a little bit about your background, but you mind walking us through that? I know you had a background in coaching, but from Minnesota, right? And then
yeah,
how'd you come up, Mike?
My dad and my brother were both in the military, both in the Navy, and so were some of my uncles. So what happened was, I graduated I went to college at Minnesota State Moorhead on a football track scholarship, and I played. The high school I went to, the high school I student taught at, I ended up teaching at. A guy had a sabbatical. He was going down to the University of Minnesota to study for a few years, and they asked me to take his class. He was a sophomore biology teacher, so I taught sophomore biology for 3 years. In those 3 years, I coached track. I coached track and football, and even 1 year women's girls basketball team because the coach got sick, and so I kind of filled in there. So, but I had a lot of fun. It was. And we won a state championship in track and football. And so, I always wanted to get back into coaching at some time. And I met the coach when I got here. And, I was retired, settled in, and we got together. We got along right away. And he had just got done. They're kind of a powerhouse team. They'd won the championship here like 2 out of 3 years. It was really a good program. And then, COVID hit, and now we only have like Aiden's a senior. He's one of our co-captains. My son, we only have 21 people in his class, and only 3 seniors on the team, right? And so it's we're a small team, small school. We're getting ready to play Rhoda. They're coming here. We'll be coming there later in the season, but they're coming here for our first game, which is September 10th, and I've maybe got 4 or 5 people that have played football before, and
Oh
so it's going
boy.
to be interesting. So
Yeah. Yeah. Edgar found themselves in that situation last year. Same thing, barely enough to field a team, and they had some equipment issues as a result of shipping because of COVID, and had to
yeah,
cancel some games. And I mean, it got so bad that for their homecoming game, they did not have helmets that were within standard, and
oh
and
wow,
so Kinnick was supposed to come up to play them, or maybe it was somebody else, but somebody was supposed to drive up to Misawa, and I mean that's a long drive. You're talking a 10-hour
yeah,
bus ride up there to Misawa, and so somebody canceled on them. They're like, "Hey man, if you guys don't have helmets, like there's no use in us coming." And so actually our Navy flag football team, like they reached out to us. They knew we were pretty good. And so we fielded our Navy flag football team against Edgar in high school for their homecoming game. And I told my guys, we were really good. My Navy intramural team was good. I was like, look, guys, let's keep it competitive. Okay. Let's don't beat them by more than 2 touchdowns. But it actually ended up being a pretty competitive game because those kids wanted to play hard, for their homecoming game. But yeah. So you came in the Navy a little bit later, didn't you, Mike?
yeah. I was 28 when I joined, so it was. I knew I was going to get a teaching job in the district, and I didn't want to go out to one of the small schools. So I was bartending a little bit, and I just started. I just said, you know what? I broke up with a girl I was dating. I was bartending a bit. I knew I wasn't going to go back to Moorhead to be a coach, or I could go back and coach. I just didn't have a teaching, and I didn't want to sub, right? Because it's kind of sporadic, so I didn't know what to do. So I just I was one of those guys that went in. The detailer's name was Ray, and I think for the first time ever, he tried to talk me not into joining the Navy. He said, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "Yeah, well, it's what I want to do." And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "You don't want to do this, right?" So, but I knew what my dad had passed away at that time. He passed away in '84. This was '88, and but everybody tried to talk me out of it, from my uncles to my brother to my mom. But I did it, right. Even the guy that recruited me, my recruiter, tried to talk me out of it, right. But I did it, right. And I came in, and I was originally an aviation boats and mates, so I went right to the Kennedy, and I was there for I came back and did a C school in Lakehurst, New Jersey, and then I went back out there and I put in my MA package. And the first package I put, now this was before computers, so you had to type all the stuff out. You had to do all your PARs and things like that. So I got it all typed out, and I turned it into my senior chief, and my senior chief looked at it and threw it overboard. I just remember it falling like overboard. I put together this great package, right? So I went back to the MAs, and they said, "Well, you threw it overboard?" Yeah. So they helped me out. They dated things. We put my package back together. This time I didn't give it to him. I walked it over to the CMC, and he took it, and he got the CO to sign it. And I went to MA school, and that was it. So, but I made chief pretty quick. Within 10 years, a little less than 10 years, I put on chief. And it was but I tell you, do I miss it? A little bit, but what I miss most of all is like what we had going on in Hawaii. I miss that, right? I miss just being together, and I miss I do miss the sailors, right? I do miss helping them figure out things, and working through issues, and watching them succeed. It's fun now to see people get promoted. There's a couple of master chiefs out there now that were working for me when they were E3s, right? It's kind of, I'll see one in Rhoda when we go over there, right? So that's kind of fun. That's kind of interesting, you know, to see how far they've come, right? So yeah, and it's just fun to see. You know, the Navy doesn't change. You know, even a lot of people. I think a lot of people, when they think the Navy's going to miss them when they retire, you know, Navy's not going to miss me. But what I miss about the Navy, what I miss about the Navy, is I miss the people and I miss the sailors, right? And you know, the same issues everybody complains about now are the same issues we had back then. I mean, they're always there. You always get caught. Something is always keeping you from doing what you really, really want to do. You know, like when you get to a command and you want to make changes in that. But to be honest, you know, there's always that bureaucracy. It's just gonna hang over. But you know, when people say, you know, the chief's mess is different or the chief's mess was better back then, I don't believe that. I think we've got the same group of people. We've got the same system in place. And when I see some of the people that are getting promoted, I know that the Navy is still doing Navy stuff and everything's going right. So, yeah, I'd like to say I miss it, but I really don't. What I do miss, though, is I miss like I said, I miss the people and I miss you know, just being in a military. I'm still in a military community, but I miss being in a Navy military community. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. On both counts, is that you know, especially, you know, for a guy like you, a guy like me, you know, you made it in less than 10. I made it in less than 10, and so now, you know, I look at 30 years potentially, and you know, so basically my Navy experience is in the mess, like really. That, you know, I mean, I don't remember a whole lot before the mess, honestly. You know, I got some friends from before the mess from my first command, I think, like we all do, but they're all out by now, either retired or they got out, and so just this Navy, you know, Chiefs mess experience. I think that's the thing that I'll probably miss, right? It's just like being able to walk into a room and hey, and you know, that whole thing. Like it's a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, it is, and it's fun when younger guys come to you and you know, they get your perspective on things, right? And you know, I would always you know, I know you made the joke about when I said when you had 10 years in the mess, but you know, that's part of that's just kidding around, you know, because I don't think really Chiefs really don't have that much to complain about, you know. And our job is, I think I told you this before. I had a commanding officer named John Kurtz, and he was a Naval Academy grad. And I remember I had to fill in as a senior enlisted leader because shortly after I got to SEAL Beach, they fired the CMC. So I was filling in for about 6 months, and he used to call me in and say, "Do you know what your job is in the Navy?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I know what my job is in the Navy." He said, "Do you really know what your job is in the Navy?" You know, like I'm gonna get an academy grad tell me what my job is in the Navy. So I humor him and say, "Go ahead and tell me. Come on, Skipper, tell me what my job is." And he'd say, and it's true though. It's true. He'd say, "Your job in the Navy is to make sure that the men and women that you're in charge of go on to their next command or back to their communities better than you got them." And I just used to, that really stuck with me, right? Because that's our job as chiefs and Bob. That really is our job. And, you know, it's, you always have those ones or twos. And those are the people that I kind of think about today. You know, wow, man, I should have done this different, or I should have done that different, or I was probably too hard on this guy, or probably wasn't empathetic enough when it came to the sailor situation, right? And you know, not that I have a lot of regrets, but you know, I think that when we go through our initiation as chiefs, I think that it's important that we remember that, right? It's important that we remember what Captain Kurtz said, what our job is, right? And sometimes that means that when we become a chief, we shouldn't look for privileges or whatever else it is. They're going to come anyway, right? but what we should do is we should look to make things our sailors successful and better than we got them. So.
Yeah, Mike, I use that all the time. I mean, you may have heard me tell somebody that, here on the podcast, honestly, because I remember you specifically in Hawaii telling me that story. And so I attribute it to you because, you told me, but I don't go all the way back to Captain Curtis and whomever, but I really truly believe that. And I've tried to apply that, and I've told a lot of people that. And so hopefully they've listened to me as well, that, yeah. I mean, absolutely. We get these men and women sent to us. Their parents, their families have entrusted us, specifically the Navy chiefs, to mold and shape them into the people that they're capable of becoming. Right. And I tell sailors all the time when we're doing like a career development board or something, and we're talking about what their career intentions are, and they say, hey, my plan is to, I'm going to finish up here and then I'm going to get out. And, we talk about what their plan is, and man, nothing makes me happier than one has like a solid plan. Like, yep, I'm going to this school. This is what I want to do. I'm going to live in this place. And what I tell them all the time is, and this is an unpopular thing for a CMC to say, like, I think our retention is probably too high. I think that for the last 20 years, we haven't been putting quality people back into society. We've been retaining so much good talent that we've kind of held some of that talent back from society that could be infused into the general society to help society be better, right? And leave a legacy in the civilian sector. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, that's probably kind of a philosophical discussion,
Well, I think right before I retired, I went to you go to the course and the retirement course that you go to. But I went down to a business seminar in Honolulu that was held at the Hyatt down there. And, they listed the Navy, specifically the Navy, as one of the best, places to get started and to move forward. And they talked about, getting military members into their businesses after they've been there, 4 to 6 years, 8 years, even retired, and how it really improve their businesses. And something as simple as what Florida is doing right now with their teacher shortage, right? Bringing in the veterans, right? Because they know that they're going to get quality people in there that are going to help get through the crisis until they can become teachers. And they're even helping them become teachers because they're allowing them to get some additional educational benefits and other things. And some of these veterans are going to end up being the teachers down there, right? So I know a lot of people on the academic sites have a problem with it, but I stop and think to myself, I said, why would you have a problem with that? You have people that know they're going to be committed. You're going to have people that are going to be committed to whatever the job is, and they're going to do it the best of their abilities. I think sometimes the public thinks that when you think veterans, they think, we're put killers in our school, or things, these warrior things, and some of us may be warriors, but it doesn't mean that we aren't. We're used to being in jobs where we have to set goals for others, work with others, and get others up to task and get where they're going. So I think it's a great thing, right? So you might be right. We might be retaining some good people, but I don't know. I never wanted to leave. Right. I got towards the end. You get a little tired towards the end, but to be honest with you, when you get right down to it, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool lifestyle. I think of all the places. My son was trying to fill in his hometown for the programs for football, right? And where's his hometown? He was born in Okinawa. Was in Seal Beach, California, in Bahrain, in Hawaii, where's his hometown, right? So that's kind of so we learn a lot. I mean, I'm in Italy right now. It's just great, right? I mean, I can walk uptown and sit down and have a cappuccino. I can have some of the finest food in the world just in any of the number of restaurants, right? It's just it's fabulous, right? It's just a great experience. But we get that experience everywhere we go, right? And that's a great thing about the job, and that's why I think it's so lucrative, right? That's why when I sat down at Hyatt, they said Navy is one of those businesses. They listed this as one of the businesses that people should look at or go into, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. So it's kind of hard when you say we don't retain. We're retaining too many good people.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of opportunities outside too. So it's not that I disagree with you. It's just that I think that it's either way. It works both ways. People know it's not for everybody. Even if you do 4 or 5 years, or even do like a 3 or 4 year tour, I think you're going to take something away from that. I think most people that have done it, like there's a couple of teachers at the high school. One teaches science. He was a communications guy in a sub. He was I got another guy who was an IS. He's the AT guy. He was an old longer, but both of them maybe did 1 or 2 tours. But they every time I come in the building or subbing, they always want to grab coffee for me and talk about their time in the Navy. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think you probably, I mean, in my experience, especially chiefs, but really anybody that was in the Navy, especially if you served at least on one ship, but even if you didn't, there's a level of camaraderie amongst sailors that doesn't exist in some of the other branches. I think the Marine Corps, they have it, right. But and not to disparage, but I look at the Air Force and the Army, and I think that camaraderie piece that we have in the Navy is certainly not the same as what we have, and certainly not the same as what we have in the Chiefs Mess. Having just served with the Air Force for 2 years, we taught them a lot. We taught their top 3 a lot, and we got together. But it's just they're just light years kind of behind us when it comes to that senior enlisted corps being together. They want it, but they just don't know how to take that first step almost.
I think it's responsibility. I've talked to the top 3 a couple of times here on base. The last base chief used to say, "Hey, come on over, give them a different perspective." We met at the golf course, and they have to. They're almost afraid to step out and do things. It's not that way in the Chiefs Mess, right? It's like they almost have to ask permission. Where those guys are more. They're just kind of programmed to wait and ask, where Chiefs just go do, right?
Right.
We just do it, right? And it's kind of built into us, right? From even before we could become Chiefs, there's a step up there. But I think we know, and a big deal about that. A great, like there's an Air Force Master Sergeant here who went through the Chiefs initiation, right? And when he was in Gulfport, Mississippi. And he loved it, man. He loves it. He wears his Navy Chief shirt all the time. Every time I see him, his son plays football too. He goes, man, this would straighten out a lot of Air Force problems if we could do that.
Yeah.
He said, he said, I've tried to write things up and but they're afraid to. I go, I said, we've been doing it for a long time. So he said, I sure wish we could do it. He said, because it really straightened me out. He said, and he said he has officers today that when he does something, so they're dumbfounded that he came up with this idea, or came up with something, or wrote something up, or did something that kind of forward thinking. Where I think that's a huge difference. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, in the last 2 years, I initiated 8. So 6 master sergeants and 2 senior master sergeants up there in Masawa. And if I'm being honest, it was a little bit of a master plan because, you know, they were, you know, strategically placed throughout the fighter wing. And
yeah, exactly.
And if I ever needed anything, I knew who to talk to, you know.
Yeah.
But I will say, when you look at those 8 folks that we initiated, you know, 4 of them are first shirts now, and they've all really kind of blossomed post initiation, and are very respected in the top 3. And now it's like people are, you know, like really want to get into initiation. I left and I was like, hey, you're really going to have to like be very selective on who you bring into this thing, because now people really want to get into it. Whereas the first year, you know, like I had a, you know, he's a master sergeant dental tech, and he showed up and he thought it was going to be like a 5-day course. I was like, buddy, they obviously didn't tell you what this was. And he ended up being one of my best ones, you know?
Well, it's changed so much over the year too, you know. When I went through it back in '98 and I was with the CB battalion, it was crazy, man. They moved me out to the first day they found out I made it, and we used to find out a lot earlier, right?
Yeah.
So it was like the middle of July when I found out I made it, right? It was just maybe, I think I did. Yeah. So what they did was we were on deployment to Puerto Rico, and they immediately took control of my room, moved all my stuff over to one of the rooms where the chief's barracks were, and locked it all up, right? And then they put me in a circus tent. Actually, I had to figure out how to put the circus tent up. It's a good thing I had some friends that were CBs that helped me, and I was living in a circus tent, you know, eating MREs. And the only shower I had was the one outside when you came off the beach, which was outside the Master Chief's door, right? Where I'd have to turn it on. That was my shower, right? I'd have to kind of shave and do everything else. It was, you know, and it was brutally hot. I remember there was like a pack of dogs that some people had left behind at Rosie Roads. Every night I'm fighting them off, right? With a stick. It was crazy, right? And then the other guys joined me that made it. They were on they were on different sites, and they came in about a couple weeks later. But yeah, I mean, all the way up until I was accepted. That's where they put me, right? In the circus tent with MREs and a cot, right? I slept on a cot.
Holy cow, man! Down at Rosie Roads, huh?
It was brutal too. Those guys came and messed with you whenever they wanted to, and you know, of course, I think it's kind of changed for the better. But when I look back, there were some hilarious things that because you know they'd come, they'd have a few beers and decide to let's go out and mess with the. So. Yeah, and you know, I'm sure it's. I mean, because of some of that stuff, you know, we had to put things back in the box. But I still think we do a good job with it. I still believe it makes us unique. So
yeah, and we still do a good job. I'll tell you, man. I've you know, I've been doing it since 2008. Obviously, not nearly as long as you, but. I mean, I've yet to have a bad season. One that I was like, that wasn't very good. Now we were lucky in Misawa because even at the height of COVID, our community transmission rate was almost 0, and so we were able to still do an in-person initiation in 2020 when most people had to do like a virtual initiation. We did.
Yeah, that must have been weird.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell the ones that made it in 20, they're still trying to kind of figure it out a little bit. You know, but we're back in the swing of things now. I just went to our final planning meeting for my new command at SRF, and you know, it looks very similar to what I had planned in Misawa. I was like, okay, good. Like you guys are on the ball. This makes me happy. So I think we're still doing it just fine. We're getting good chiefs on the back end of it, and you know, there's still plenty of fun to be had. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun. I mean, you know, going through the last night when you see guys, when the light goes on and you see the guys, you know, that not everybody, there's a few that, like you said, it takes a little while, maybe six months later, a year later, maybe 2 years later, right? Or when they see others go through it and then they're sitting on the sideline and then they go, yeah. But
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's one of the coolest things, right?
Yeah.
and it's really cool that no other service does it, that we're just it's just us. So.
Yeah. And I've been really pleased with our leadership's commitment to keep it going. I think, a lot of people, would like to not see us do it anymore. But I think that we've kind of rounded that turn where even at the very senior levels of officer leadership, they see the value in it. And so it is a institutionalized like program now. And I don't think we'll ever get away from it at this point. We will just change with the times, but it will continue to be a thing because I think everybody sees the value in it now,
Oh yeah, I think, and you get a better chief. I mean, you get chiefs that, for whatever reason, they just start embracing things that, others take a long time. And but when you get those chiefs that where the light goes on, it's just amazing. And just let them run, right? It's fun to watch. It's fun to look down and look down on the herd and see these guys jumping up and leading the right way, doing the right things. Yeah. And you can really see a difference. One of the things, I was a chief for a long time. I was chief for the last 20 years of my career, but commands that I were at that were really successful always had successful chiefs, right? And what I mean by successful chiefs, it was chiefs that weren't they didn't care about being the alpha. They cared about the command, right? And it was fun to watch that. It was fun to see, and like I said, some of those guys, like I got, you probably met him in Japan. Did you know Sergio Gonzalez?
Yeah, I know Sergio. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's over in Rhoda now, right? But he picked up Master Chief before he left. He was at the region there, right? Sergio worked for me when he was a third class, and now and then he made chief in Bahrain when I was there. And it's good to see him as a Master Chief now, right? And I know he's going back and forth on whether or not he wants to be a CMC. How I look at that's each person his own, right? But that's fun to see. It's fun to see those things, right? It's fun to see guys like that. There's a couple of them like that out there, but so that's fun. So it's always fun to, when we played football in Rhoda last year, and the season had gotten pushed a little bit, and I saw the guys come in the mess. We were eating there. The team ate in the mess in the morning, right? And there was like three chiefs that were that come, or chief selects had come in, and they were eating breakfast, right? And I stuck my nose in and started talking to them, and I ended up signing a few of their books, and then I had some chiefs that knew me that I didn't even know said, "Hey, you were Rhoda, man." They're sending me back things, and so that was kind of fun, right?
Yeah,
it was. So I sat down with them and signed their books when we had breakfast that morning. That was kind of fun. The guys that were with me, I have a couple of. I have a retired master sergeant who were asking me all about it. Right? What's going on? What are you doing? What are you? So I had explained it to them, and they said, "Wow, that's cool. We don't do anything like that in the Air Force." I said, "I know."
Yeah, I know. Yeah, good stuff, man. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here, Mike, because I don't really know the whole background of this, and but you talk about your brother a lot, man. He was your older brother, right? You got me?
Yes.
Yeah. So you talk about your brother a lot. You talk about your brother a lot, and I think that maybe you haven't. I don't know, not unintentionally or intentionally, I should say, but he was your older brother. I know you looked up to him a lot, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's a couple of years older than me, so we grew up together. He was a Navy SEAL. He'd done combat in Panama and Grenada, some other places, and he was I think it was 95 now. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he took his own life. So it was really hard. I mean, it was. I was stationed at the time. I was second class just before I put on first class, I was stationed up in Lakehurst, New Jersey, and it was really definitely it was. I always think about that when I think about sailors, and I think about the fact that we still have some huge mental health issues in the service that don't get really don't get the attention I think they need, and which kind of leads me to something else. I think we're so afraid, especially leaders, to ask for help, right? We're just afraid. I think we have as many issues as anybody else, and hopefully the stigma's getting lifted. I still get AFM, so I get all the AFM commercials, so I know that that's a big thing that they push. Hopefully the stigma's getting lifted, but yeah, that's growing up, I never thought my brother would take his own life, right? That was really, it was a really low period in my life because, I was devastated. But again, I talk about it when people bring it up. I think, I can't remember. I think I was at, it was just before I got to Bahrain where somebody killed himself there too, right? And same thing when I went to Okinawa. I was a new chief in Okinawa, and we'd had a couple people that were killed that were out in a typhoon, typhoon there, right? Both of them, two young MAs drowned, and I got there shortly after that happened. Any kind of stuff like that happens in a command, I think it really. It takes sailors a long time to recover from that. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, my brother was kind of everything he did was easy. Everything that came to was easy. He was just one of those, just was the first person I really kind of looked up to, right?
Yeah.
And so even though we thought it was nuts that I joined the Navy, we spent a little bit of time together when I was home ported in Norfolk, but it's like everything else, you go one way, he goes the other way, and to be honest with you, we never really talked about what was going on with him or anything like that. He was sick. He did have a brain tumor that was inoperable, but taking his life was kind of I don't know. Looking back, it was. Definitely affected me. So,
yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know if you know this. I mean, obviously different situation, but so my brother was 5 years older than me, and same thing, man. Like I looked up to him. He was, handsome guy, had all the girls in high school, played linebacker. There wasn't a room that he ever felt uncomfortable in. He was the life of the party. Told the best stories. I mean, he was just this, just amazing person. And for him, he was diagnosed with fibromyalgia probably in 97 or something. And like the quintessential, opioid addiction case, right? Like prescribed, probably in 96 or 97, they prescribed Oxycontin. He got hooked. He was on his Mormon mission actually when they put him on Oxycontin. Came back from his mission, went to see the doctor. At this point, he was like, "Hey, you don't need to be on these." Took him off cold turkey, and then there began the just searching for that ability to get that high, right? Because he had an addiction, and so probably from 98 until so he passed in 2020, so right after I got to Misawa. I mean, it was just a roller coaster for 20 years, 20 plus years of heavy addiction, clean himself up for about a year, heavy addiction. I mean, it was just a roller coaster for 20 years, and he had gotten himself clean, man, and then just had one bad night, and it was fentanyl, right? And I think he just didn't know exactly how strong it was or what the dosage was, and I think he just took too much, and yeah, it was. Yeah, same thing. It was devastating, man. It was right at the, I guess what we consider the height of COVID, and so I wasn't able to go back for his funeral. And yeah, so I remember when we were in Hawaii, and you would kind of talk about your brother a little bit, and I always worried that I was gonna find myself in a similar situation, and just because I knew kind of the path he was on, and sure enough, I did, right? Like, and it's, like you said, it's devastating, but, maybe you found some peace,
Well, it's a huge problem. I mean, that's just not in your family. That's, we and we've got veterans that have that issue, right? I know you met Joe Groman when he came over. He does a lot of work with veterans. He's in Florida now.
Nice.
I don't know if you're still Facebook friends with Joe, but
Yeah, I am.
he's in Florida now. But he'll tell you that some of the stories with the veterans that he's dealt with that have some of the same issues. Where we try to. We give them all these drugs to try to make them better, and then we just cut it out from underneath them, right? And then we expect them to. It's. I don't know the answer on that, but there's a huge problem that's been created, not just with service members, people like your brother and others. It's huge. It's a big issue in America. It's
scary stuff, man. I mean, it affects it, especially if you look at it. I think there probably was a time when you could almost maybe 10 years ago, you kind of isolated to the South, maybe like Kentucky, West Virginia, Louisiana, some of the really rural places, and these communities were just being overrun with things like Oxy and Percocet and any of the opioids that were available. But I think in the last 5 years, I've seen it just become. I mean, I think it's a true epidemic. Like, I mean, just the addiction.
I do too.
In the States it's not just to that. I mean, it could be to any prescription medication, whether it's, barbiturates. And I mean, like the American public, who's not on a pill at this point,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not, but I got my share of, I think shortly after I got here, I got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and I was working on helping Aiden work on he's an Eagle Scout now, but he was working on his project, and I couldn't stop it, right? It was just shaking. I was like, what the heck's going on, right? And, I couldn't find words to get out. My mouth, it was just like I was having all kinds of weird issues, right? So I was like, what's going on with me, right? So, I got diagnosed with, like I said, Parkinson's, but I've got a good group here that really helped me. I would love to say it's going to get better, but it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. You never think about having to think about swallowing or think about breathing, because your diaphragm's a muscle, and what it does is it just it freezes up some of your muscles and stuff like that. So that's been like really my big challenge that I've faced since I got out. But I'm living a pretty good life. I'm, even though I have to battle this thing every day, it's not gonna. It eventually will win. There's no cure for Parkinson's, but I'm not. I'm not going down easy. How's that? And I'm not feeling sorry for myself. So, yeah. But
what kind of therapy are you doing to kind of like combat that?
Well, what I did, and it's really kind of cool. I was going in a hyperbaric chamber, and for a while, I had like a lesion in my brain, and that kind of cleared up the lesion, and kind of helped a little bit. In fact, I don't have much for tremors anymore. I have like a freezing on my right side. When I search for words or I'm talking, I kind of maybe slur my speech a little bit, or I have to really slow down. And the swallowing and the other thing. But like every Tuesday and Thursday, I go to physical therapy, and they teach me how to control the swallowing. They teach me how to control the thing. And, I got a little issue with my eyes, but it's because the muscle on the side. So what happens is your vision kind of goes like this. So, I'm going to get a series of shots. I know it sounds weird, in my eye to relax the muscle, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get some shots in my hip to try to, slow things down and combat them a little bit. But
yeah,
I have not taken any of the meds. The meds are mostly for tremors. And so I haven't taken I haven't gone on some of the meds that they have out there, but eventually I'll probably have to do that too. So, but
yeah.
you know what, if I'm out like on the field coaching football, I usually have a cane with me. If I'm going to be somewhere out and about, I'll probably, if we're traveling, I'll have a cane with me just so, because sometimes, the leg just feels like it just goes from underneath me, especially on the right-hand side. And that's kind of scary, but
yeah,
they've been really good. They've been really good to include me in the things here in the medical side of the house. I think we're going on the third rotation of doctors, and every one of them has been really good. So
that's good, Michael. Yeah, man. Yeah. I saw, I see your updates on it, and I know that you're gonna, you've always been good about taking care of yourself, and so I know you'll continue to do that as best you can. And I mean, you look great, man. You look slim. Like, really, you do, man. You're looking good, old man.
I'm about 195. I think when I retired, I was about 210. So yeah, I've slimmed down a little bit, but I'm still breaking 80 on a golf course. So if I can, it's funny. It's just little things that you do. If I'm around the green, I'm chipping with one hand, because just if I put the both of them together, it's kind of. And if I'm, and I don't know, you've seen like Bryson DeChambeau's putter. It's called the arm lock putter. I've got one of those, and I use that. So
okay.
Actually, I putt pretty good with it. So little things I do. It doesn't affect my full swing, but yeah, I have.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I still get out and play well. So
good. Yeah, I played a good bit, not as much as I should have probably in Misawa. So so they keep the course open until about the first week of December, until the real snow comes that doesn't melt off. And so from December through about maybe the middle of April, depending on the year and how quickly it melts, the course is closed. But man, they do a fantastic job with that course up there in Misawa. It was a beautiful course, just really well maintained, and just difficult enough. Like, it was a fun course. We had a lot of good times on that course these last 2 years up there. I'm gonna miss it. Here I am on, you've been to Seafay. It's like, I'm glad to be home, but like I got to go all the way to Atsugi just to play golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, that's what was nice about Okinawa when I was over there. And you're right. They when they take care of things, the Japanese just do a better job than everybody else, right? They take so much pride in the job that they're doing. So if you had those guys doing your maintenance guys on a golf course out there, they're they're just doing an awesome job. I just remember them, even we lived in housing in Kadena, and they would trim your house down just perfectly, right? Your yard and everything. It was just perfect the way they did things, right? It was just, they took a lot of pride in it, right? So it's just over here in Italy, we've got a good course. We got a good course out in town, and the one on the base. The nice thing about the one on the base is if it's like if I go Tuesdays and Thursdays usually right after physical therapy, and it's early in the morning. So I have the course all to myself some days, right? And then on Sunday I play with a group of guys, but including the principal over at the high school. But it's kind of nice when you have your own, little country club. You just put your music on and just play, zip through 18 holes and have some fun, right?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. So tell me about this, Sean or Mike. You're a black belt. Is it Ishinru Karate?
No, it's Kenpo Karate.
Oh, you're black
Kenpo
belt.
Karate.
Oh, okay,
Jiu-Jitsu.
Kenpo.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you pick that up like in Okinawa or years before?
I was in Lakehurst, New Jersey.
When did that become a thing for you?
No, but before I went to actually I got 97. I got my first degree black belt. There was a guy named Colonel Don Worth. I was running one day and his dojo was open. I was in Lakehurst, New Jersey, and I stuck my head in, and I was watching. And the couple days later, I was running by, and he said, "Hey, come here." He goes, "Where are you working?" I said, "On the base." He goes, "You seem pretty interested." He said, "I always see you looking in my window." And so he stopped by my door the other day. He said, "Do you want to come up and train?" And I said, "Sure." And we got about 10 or 12 sailors involved. We did a class just us, right? And we were all MAs, so it was kind of fun. We had we called it the Law Enforcement Self-Defense League, right? I think out of that group, four of us became black belts, and we started competing in tournaments. Then it was just fun. It was a fun thing to do, and I just became more and more interested. And then when I got to Okinawa. At that point, I was like I think it was a third degree black belt when I got to Okinawa. I got to work with the Grand Master in Okinawa. I remember I stopped in. He was doing a lot of work with the Marines. This old guy, old beard, just looked like a typical guy you'd see out of one of those old kung fu movies. And so I worked with him, and but the first thing he made me do was clean his floor. Right? He just gave me a mop and stuff like that. And then he goes, "No, on your knees, clean it." Right? I felt like I was in the Karate Kid. And but I got to know him really well. I'd stop by, so I got a black belt and the Roo from him also, and it was just fun. It was fun. And then when I got to Seal Beach, I got to meet all the guys. Like I met Chuck Norris, I met Jeff Speakman, I met the Affliction Studios was just right across the field from the base. And so we'd go over there and watch George St. Pierre work out and do his camera stuff. So, Bill Superfoot Wallace, who was way back, a karate guy. He was actually the guy that I always tease him because he was the bodyguard of Elvis and John Belushi, and we found them both dead. And I always say, "You didn't do a good job of taking care of those guys." But he was a superstar back in the 60s and early 70s. So I got to know all those guys, and it was fun. I mean, I'm an eighth degree black belt in Kenpo. I've got a couple other degrees, but Kenpo is my what it is it's more than anything else. It's taught me to be confident. It's helped me work through issues. I think that a lot of things that happen in life, if you have something that you can use to work, help you through them. So it's just been it's been a good thing for me, right? It's been a good anchor. So
yeah, I think I never did any martial arts, but when you talk to people that did or do, there's a couple things that they always say. Number one is discipline, forgiveness, confidence, not hubris, right? And so humility. And so like the martial arts kind of teach you all of those things, and so I'll tell you, man, like, I think I missed an opportunity in Misawa. They did 3 nights a week. They did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for free. And I just never went. I went to one class and they beat the hell out of me. I never went back. So, but they do it here in Yokosuka, and I may go sign up just because it's something to do, and there's been plenty of stories of guys that like later in life kind of found the martial arts, because maybe there was something that was missing, right? And I don't know. I may go do it. I've been talking to a couple of people to kind of feel it out and see if it's worth it, but I think I'm going to, honestly. So,
well, I used to teach everybody in the military for free. Everybody in the military and law enforcement for free. And I one time had the Gulfport, when I was Gulfport, Mississippi, I had the Gulfport Police Department. I'd go teach those guys once a week. And one of the things I teach all my students is it's not about being a badass. I always tell them there's 3 things that I teach them: know yourself, control yourself, and give freely of yourself, right? And that's kind of like what the martial arts has taught me, right? It's, I've got a couple of college degrees downstairs, but I've got that 8th degree black belt thing down to my little den, and I'm just as proud of that as I am any of the education I have, or the fact that I was a master chief in the Navy. All that stuff, has helped me. It's just helped me become a better me. It's helped me to, control what I can control, and understand that, I always tell everybody, you can't control anything else past this, right? You just draw. And that's kind of like what, that's kind of like what it's taught me. If something's happening over there, or something's happening to someone else, I might not be able, but I can control what I'm doing about it, right? And I don't think, a lot of people think, oh man, you must be a badass. I don't think I'm a badass. I just think what it does is it's made me it's humbling, because like you said, it doesn't matter how high you go up, somebody's always better than you. You get your butt kicked a few times, and there's, but it's the lessons I've learned, and I've had some good teachers. I've had some really, really good teachers and instructors, and some good friends, right? And it's that are involved with the arts, and it's always been a good experience for me. So I would encourage you to do it. You'll enjoy it. You just come away with a different feeling. You realize that, hey, some of this is not that complicated. It's actually kind of simple. It's just, I just have to put myself through it, and you have to, I think the big thing is when you're in uncomfortable situations, and that help make it comfortable when you have to be, so just things like that. Right. So.
Yeah. I think I will, man. I want to, so Mike, when were you in high school? Look, we all know you're old, so this isn't going to age you that much, right?
I graduated in '79, man.
All right, so 79. All right,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'll just come out and ask you, right? Because there's a lot of stuff in the press and other places about psychedelics right now, and I just want to get your take on it, man, because I imagine, I may be way out on this, but as a guy that graduated in '79 and then hung around till you were 28, I imagine that you've probably had some experiences, and maybe I'm wrong on that.
No. I tell you what, Well, I could say I smoked a lot of dope. I guess I could say that now. And you know what the funny thing is when I joined the Navy, they never asked me. Never asked me once. Everybody else said, "What did you put on the thing?" I said, "They never asked me, right?" And they never did. I guess maybe they wrote something on my, you know, I didn't have to get a waiver, but
Yeah.
you know, I didn't do anything really much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's and today, you know, I mean, I got a gardener here, a guy kind of takes care of me, and he mixes up some CBD oil for me. You know, I use that especially with my with what's going on with me. And I mean, I even have the drops you put underneath you know, your tongue if you know, to help me sleep at night. So I mean, there's some good medicinal qualities, I guess. I have not smoked a joint when I got out of the Navy, so you know, I always thought I would go back and do that, but I haven't done that. It's illegal here in Italy. You can get some stuff if you go to some of the outside doctors, but I haven't done anything like that. So you know, I've it's just you know, the funny thing is you know, I've become healthier when I got out than when I was in. So you know, I mean, with all the great wines here and everything else, I mean, I very seldom drink alcohol. You know, I might have, I think on our anniversary picnic, Shauna and I had a half a glass of wine. I mean, that was about it, right? So I'm pretty mellow these days when it comes to, and I go to bed at like at 9 o'clock at night. So. Yeah, you there? I lost you for a second.
Man.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these days I'm up about the time I used to go to bed, right?
Yeah. I hear you, man. It was funny because I got back from Misawa, and you know, it's like 8:45, 9 o'clock, and you know, I've been up there for 2 years by myself, right? And so like 8:45, 9 o'clock, I'm looking at the clock, and mommy's like, do you go to bed at 9 now? I was like, dude, yes, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I'm heading toward the rack, you know. And I'm up at 4:30. I mean, like clockwork, you know. So
Blinky always stares at me when it's time to go to bed, right? Come on, man, we gotta go, right? Which is about 9 o'clock at night. So
yeah. So do you find those do you find the, you know, the CBD to be helpful?
Yeah, it's helpful.
Good,
I mean, it puts me right to sleep. So
right.
You know, I mean, it's not like you're I mean, I find it very helpful. I do. I mean, I try not to again, I've always been really you know, when it comes to medication, I've always been a little, you know, I don't want to take anything that's going to be it's going to hurt me or do something in the long run. So yeah, I mean, between that and a leave, that's basically what I'm taking. So
No, anti-inflammatory. I know it, man.
Yeah.
That's good. So so let's move on to last couple of topics. So the first one is, I have a hard time kind of, I think that you and I are very similar in this regard. And the topic is, I guess, you know, politics or political affiliation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we're similar in this regard, in that we're not married to any you know, right or left wing idea. It's just you know, the things that make sense in society, right? I think that is that a fair assessment of kind of where you sit, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I look at things, you know, I'm very disturbed by what I see, the violence that's associated with politics. You know, I kind of grew up in the first person I voted for was Ronald Reagan, but I have voted for Democrats too. But I'm more of like a Reagan Republican, you know, where I look at things as you know, that the country of America should be a shining example, right? he used to call it the shining example on the hill, right? And I think we've gotten away from that. I think we elect people because they're popular rather than they're what's good for the country, right? Or we elect people because they're not somebody else, right? Rather than electing the best person. I don't find many people in Washington that I agree with these days on both sides, and I find that the fact that I'll just say it. There's some things with the former president when he'd do things, and I see people that I really respected, military leaders, that would not have put up with some of that, any of that, with anybody in their command, but yet they stand behind them. And I think what happens is, and I don't like them using the military as a I don't like politicians that use the military, for what it's not intended to be used for. Meaning, you always go back to them, or you think that it's a real shit show, is what it's become, right? And the sad part about it is it's probably cost me some friends. It's cost me some relationships, because I see them filling up their feeds, or they start talking about it, and it just kind of turns me off. I think America, we have some issues in America. We have some huge issues. And, when I saw what happened on January 6th, that made me cry, right? I mean, I had tears in my eyes when I was watching what happened on January 6th. Well, then the same thing when I'm from Minneapolis. So when that whole George Floyd thing happened, and the city started burning and all the looting and stuff like that, I was like, that's just not that's not my Minneapolis, right? That's not my experience. And that kind of broke my heart too. So, I think politicians on both sides have ratcheted up that it's caused people to do things that because the rhetoric is so this or that, and it's caused people to do violent things. It's caused people to really it's a different America now. My people that are like one of the guys I coach with said, we had the same problem in the 60s and the early 70s, with, he talks about Kent State, he talks about that. And he talks about the bombings in Chicago. And he said, those tensions have always been there. It's just that lately, the politicians have joined in and added fuel to the fire. So
yeah, they haven't stayed above the fray. They've encouraged it almost.
Yes, yeah, and they all applaud it, right, on both sides, and that's, to me, that's kind of hard. Right? It's just a difficult thing to watch, right? I mean, if you don't serve in the military for 30 years without falling in love with your country, right? I was reading some old quotes the other day by John McCain, and some of the stuff that he said was a prisoner of war. About it took him to be a prisoner of war in another country to really understand his love for the country that he grew up in, right? And I love America. I love everything it should stand for, and I hope we don't lose that. I hope we don't lose that. Politics doesn't drive people, a wedge between people, because there's still so many good things about America, and I think we need to talk about those things more, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I was talking to my daughter the other night. We talked about all this stuff, and obviously, they're a different generation. They're my kids, right? And so we look at things a little bit differently. But I, I'm very happy in the fact that we're able to have like very, civil discourse in our own home, even on things that we may not necessarily, agree on. Specifically with my 18-year-old who's an adult now. An adult now. But but what I told them, we were talking about this. I said, you know what, here's how I describe my political leanings. I want to be able to write an editorial about my gay friend's wedding where we were shooting guns. Like that's it.
Yeah, I think that, it sounds great. Listen, it's the funniest thing how people get caught up if somebody's, something like that, somebody's sexuality. I just don't think that that's any of my business, to be honest with you. But
Exactly.
You're right. But even the same thing, I mean, I believe I'm a strong Second Amendment guy. I think we should legalize marijuana. I want to restrict abortions to, like I don't think that when you get up past the third trimester, anybody should be talking about an abortion. But I do think that there are, who am I to tell a woman, what to do with her body, right? So I've got a lot of left and right leanings. I'm kind of a middle of the road guy. I think I'm a fiscal conservative, but I mean, I understand that there are some programs that are really needed in communities that don't have the opportunities that I had growing up. I'm not for student loan forgiveness. I think it's a mistake. I think we're rewarding people for making bad decisions, right? And but I'm not. A lot of people, just say, well, what do you believe in this? What do you believe? Well, so what are you? I don't know what I am, right? I don't really have a home in either party.
Yep.
And there's enough nuts in both parties that I mean, I don't need to go through a list of politicians, but I think that a lot of them are, they add to the problems rather than trying to solve them. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a big portion of America is finding themselves in this place where they consider themselves kind of politically homeless, right? Like, I don't agree with either of these idiots, So I don't know, but yeah, man. Well, look, Mike, we're gonna wrap it up. Let's do this again, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dean, it's good to see you. It's good to talk to you. I mean, you're one of the, I'm so glad you're CMC in the Navy. I'm so glad you're a leader. I think sailors are very lucky to have you. Keep doing good things. Keep making a difference. Say hello to your family for me. And it was nice catching up.
Yeah, Mike. Same to you, brother. Please take care of yourself. I know that Parkinson's is going to be there with you, right? But if anybody can kick its ass, it'll be you, man. And thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.